Hi everybody in Facebook land, Beth here from Access Paranormal, here for this week's I Want to Know, which is this ghost that has been captured in Georgia in the USA by a 13-year-old girl. Now, this particular story has gone more viral than most, and we're kind of used to it after a while as investigators. We'll see something in the news, you kind of scroll over and you're like, oh yeah, that looks a bit interesting, and you keep going. But this one's kind of grown legs and really taken off. And in my initial research, I've actually found that there's been a fair bit of there's a fair few indicators as to why this story has become so popular, and more so than others. Hi Karina, how are you? Yes, her comment should be very interesting. I'm sure we're probably all going to share fairly similar sentiments, but there's an interesting twist that I found in the last couple of days, which I'll talk a bit about as well. Hi Michelle, good to see you, girlfriend. So I'll start to get into it a little bit more. I do want to say a big hello to Max and Alex as well. They are based in the USA, I think in Tennessee, I think they said they were. I wasn't 100% sure, so apologies if I have got your location completely wrong and just offended you. I know that you're also interested in finding out what my thoughts were on this as well, from someone across the pond, seeing this from an international perspective as well. Hello Blair, g'day mate, how are you? So let's get stuck into this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the camera around, and we're going to actually look at the photo itself and the Facebook post that came with it. And as you know, for those who've seen a couple of these videos before, I'm a huge fan of getting the background story on how and which a particular photo has actually been taken. So hi Mac, how are you? Another one from down under, can't keep us down. So I'll turn the camera around and we'll start having a look at this particular photo. Your thoughts. All right, so this is the actual original post, and this post was by the girl's mother. The girl herself is named Haley, and her mom actually posted this. Now we'll go through the post itself, because I think this is really interesting in the way in which it's been worded and why it's been worded this particular way. So the first thing it says is, FB friends, check this out. This picture was taken by my 13-year-old daughter earlier today at Paradise, which is a fishing place, in Trifton, Georgia. Notice my son Colton there in the background, and then notice the gentleman standing to his right there. Y'all, this gentleman was not with them today, and there was no one else at these back ponds when they were fishing, where they were fishing. The only people there today were Haley, Colton, and their grandparents Dennis and Vera. Haley was going back through her pictures and saw this, and needless to say, freaked out and called me. I personally think it's pretty cool because today is Colton's birthday and he caught the biggest fish he's ever caught. It looks like the man is happy for him. Please feel free to share. Pretty interesting, huh? So, hello Michelle, how are you, sweetheart? So that's an interesting post to put when your daughter has taken a photo. So of course we'll start to go into the background part of it. I think the first sentence is very, very interesting. I think it almost, I wouldn't say gives it away, but we're starting to dig a little bit more into the reasons why this photo, or the story behind this photo being taken. FB friends, check this out. Wow, you are so open for this to be shared. It's not funny. And I think that is a big indicator for this particular story to have gone as viral as it has. I also think that part at the bottom here, please feel free to share. I mean, she states that she wants it to go viral. I'll talk a little bit about her other reasons as to why as well, which I found out a little bit later on today and yesterday. So she's very, very open about it being shared. She wants it to be shared on social media. Another thing as well, the mother actually wasn't there. So her daughter has taken this photo, and she was out on spending the day with her grandparents. It was her brother's birthday. So this woman is actually indicating this could actually be a ghost or a spirit, and she wasn't actually even there to verify the account. Now, yes, she is trusting what her kids are saying. She's trusting what the grandparents are saying as well. You would assume, but we'll go into that. But yeah, she wasn't even there. So I find that's really interesting for her to have been quite happy to share this and actually have not even been there to what would be witnessing it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing is the time in which the photo was taken to the time in which it was posted. Now that's different to when it was taken to when it was reviewed by Haley. Now technically, with her having taken the photo as they're wrapping up, And then later on, as they start driving off and she has a look through her camera photo, she sees this and starts to get very upset. Now, that's fine, but I want to know the time in which that photo was taken to the time in which that one up here, this particular one, was posted. Now, she said it was on a Saturday. February 25th is on the Saturday as well, so it would have been done on the same day and or evening. But of course, you would need to know how far away they lived from the place, you know, how long it took them, did they have any stopovers or anything like that. So that information, of course, we just don't have. But yeah, yeah, phone app. Debbie, so Debbie Williams says phone app. Hi Heidi, how are you, lovely lady? So there's a couple of things there already. I'm thinking, oh, there's a couple of inconsistencies, and unfortunately it's information, a lot more detail that for myself I'd want to know before I would sit there and ascertain whether or not there's been something that may have been photoshopped, or they call it shop-deed or shop bad. I think there's a term, I've got to find it. I found it the other day, it was quite funny. So another thing as well to keep in mind, it was her brother's birthday. So is Colton's birthday, and he caught the biggest fish he's ever caught. So it's a special day. It's a very special day. It's not just a normal day fishing, it's a special day, and kids like feeling special. So I thought that was something just to keep in mind. There's also one report that I did find where they said that Hayley was actually interested in photography, but I have not found any other actual source for that particular story, or any actual verification of whether or not that is the case. So that's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, again, so Blair says superimposed as well. So interesting, really interesting. Hello, Daniel, how are you? Oh no, I was late. That's right, Mel. We've only just started, so we're having a look at the actual photo and the post that was posted by the mother herself. Now let's scroll down, and I've actually cropped out this particular part, and we'll actually scroll to this section here so we can actually see it a little better. And I'll tilt that there so you can see a little more of our favourite man. Now, first thing I noticed, is the fuzzy lining. This just seems weird glowy. Now, yeah, there is a bit of a fuzz glow thing in the sense it's here and it's all here as well, but it only goes to a certain point. I would attribute that to the fact that the back window is quite dirty. That can also be verified by having a look here, and hopefully you guys can see it, is there's actually a little bit of dirt there as well. So that it's a bit grubby, and and of course things reflect all sorts of dust particles and things like that, which is another reason why I think it's actually grainy. I don't think that is photoshopped or any way. I think that's actually just the dirt and because these parts are darker, it's going to show up more as well. So that doesn't really help our cause. But that blurring there was a very interesting thing. It's the first thing I noticed, and it's for those who may not know Photoshop, there is a tool called magnetic noose, magnetic noose, and what it does is if you hold and drag your mouse, if you're trying to outline something, it will cling to the edge of the object that you want. So it kind of takes all the hard work out of trying to guess and trying to redo when you're trying to cut something out or put something in. And people will do that, and then obviously it'll look very cut out, like here. It just looks too contrasty. So then they will blur it to make it look less obvious. And even at the hat here as well, that's also really interesting. The fact that that same blurring is there, but yet it's not there, yet it's up here. It just, I don't know. His detail is quite detailed in some parts, but really kind of blurred in others. We can't see really much more of his. It looks like a blue shirt. We don't know. To me, I'm thinking it looks a bit of a blue tone. But that could also be a little bit of pareidolia there, where I'm starting to think, well, you know, it could be a worker, it could be somebody with a blue shirt. Blue shirt's very common. Excuse me. Yeah, I've seen that figure in an old American history magazine. Blair, if you have seen that figure, if you're able to find it, I would love you forever. That would be amazing if you can. I know it looks like a very iconic figure. There was one picture I found where someone had, it looked very similar to a bronze statue, which is what I thought it looked more like than anything else. But if you can, mate, that'd be great. Hey, Vicky, glad you could join. Oh, and Amy as well. And great to see you too, sweetheart. So that's the first things I noticed was the blurring. The blurring was really, really interesting. There is a little bit of it here, but it's not, the edges aren't blurred. The edge is blurred there. It just looks, I don't know, it's inconsistencies that you start to look for when you look at photos like this. So that was the first thing I thought was quite interesting. Second thing was the sunlight in the area, but see, the figure is not highlighted. Now, you're thinking, all right, so maybe he could be standing on something, but it just seems a little strange that he could be, see, the proportions are wrong. He's standing right where the toolbox would be. If the boy, Colton, was actually putting things away in a toolbox at the back of that particular vehicle, this figure is actually standing right there. So technically, he should be in the sun. All this is all sunlit as well. All this is all sunlit. He should be in the sun. Now you think, okay, well, maybe being a spirit that wasn't there for the naked eye to see, maybe, you know, the camera picked it up. But we have to think and remember that it was taken by a smartphone, and smartphones actually take photos of what we physically see. They're not IR, they're not UR. In fact, they've got a tiny bit of IR, but very, very little. They really are, they take pictures of what we physically see. So if you physically see something as you take it, it was physically there. So either someone is physically there, or the fact that this person wasn't there and they were put in later, because they should be in the sun. This guy should be in the sun. He should have sunlight on him as well. Yeah, Debbie, yeah. Hi, Dan. Hey, I'm glad you could join. So I think, yeah, firstly, there should be sunlight directly on this guy, and there's not. And that, to me, is a big inconsistency, because a camera would pick up something that's physically there. Also, at the same time, some people have been saying that the figure might be a reflection. So it could be a reflection of the front window, because from where the photo was taken, it could be a reflection of the front windscreen that's here, and it just could be some dude at the front, maybe wandering around, going, hey, you know, you went fishing. You know, people wander around, and it's a public place. And the guy might turn around and said, you know, I'd love to know your fishing story. But there's a big inconsistency with that as well. The fact that the guy, if he was actually a reflection, he would be in front of Colton. So you would actually see all of him. You wouldn't just see this kind of part here. You would see all of him, because the whole part, all of his reflection, even if it was, you know, sort of badly seen, you would be able to see some sort of shape. So whatever was there or had been there or was put in there is in the background, not in the foreground, or not a reflection in any way. Yeah. Yeah, still the wrong height. Exactly, Blair. Still, the height is weird. That's the biggest thing I find sometimes. If this was actually photoshopped or had the Ghost app later on, if that's the case, they're getting a little bit more sophisticated. If that's the case, that it's always the proportions that give it the biggest clue. That the fuzzing and the proportions, they don't meet up. They don't. It's like, you know, about the one I did a couple of months ago about there's a festival, the Good Life Festival, you know, about this ghost girl up in the stands. If she was truly that height, she'd be like 7-8 feet, which is like 3 meters or something. You know, like, that's not a girl, that's a bloody monster. So yeah, she those kinds of things, and that's the thing, is that when people put these images together, they don't actually think about proportion. They just kind of put it in there and make it look as similar as they can. So anyway, that's just hypothetically. We're just looking at hypotheticals at the moment. Also, there's been quite a few people that have turned around and said that they've actually analysed this professionally. So some people have said that they've had graphic artists look at them, you know, well-known investigators apparently have been looking at these at this particular photo as well. My biggest issue with that is that unless they are in direct contact with the family and actually have gotten the original photo, you are analysing something that's been compressed to excuse my words, buggery, which is very Australian. You have something that's been compressed to no ends of its life, and you're not going to get the true representation of that image. So when you do reverted, colours or black and white or anything like that to see if there's been any manipulation of that image, you're not going to get a true representation of that. It's actually going to be, it's going to be the compressed image, more than likely off Facebook and more than likely off the websites from the news articles that have been going around as well. So I think just keep that in mind. If they have got the original, then all power to them. But no one in the initial research that I've done has actually confirmed and verified that that was the case, and they were able to do that. Now, this is where things got a little bit interesting. Oh, as I said, and the angle of the figure. Yes, the angle of the figure. The figures, yeah. Oh my gosh, I know there's so many little bits of buggery. So yeah, there's the angle as well. There's lots. I mean, this particular Facebook session could go for about 2 hours at least if I was able to go into everything that had come up. And I love seeing that everyone else has ideas and thoughts and about what this particular photo is. But the big thing I found really interesting is often with these types of photos, you will only get, or especially from Australia, you'll only be able to have access to the written side of it. So you'll only have access to the article or the news, story or the interview, and so much can be taken the wrong way from written word. So I've actually been able to find, luckily, a podcast that was actually recorded between the mother and the daughter and this lovely guy called Tony. He's only just started out. It's called The Confessionals. And I'll post that link as well, but I'll have it up there just in case you guys want to have a look and see. I'll move it back this way so you can actually see the link properly. It starts from 22 minutes 57, so that's the time there. So if you want to go straight into it, have a look at that. It's a very interesting interview, really interesting, because you actually get to hear how they retell the story. And as investigators, we know that over time, when we're interviewing people, they may feel like they're going through a circus, but the reason why we may ask the same questions multiple times is because the truth is easier to remember than the lies. And little details that people may leave out. Now, it doesn't mean you sit there and you do a Terminator on them and you psychoanalysis, oh my gosh, you said instead of the, and then, obviously it's not to the nth degree, but you obviously, if there's really interesting things like befores and afters, or the way someone describes something, or, little things, you'll notice there could be inconsistencies if there are, if somebody's not giving you the truth. Yeah, I also see that the colour deficit, and not to say that the spirit would be in colour, but this is just wrong. Okay, yeah, Debbie, again, Debbie's made a great comment as well about, with her photography experience, that there's some colour issues there as well. Good point. Okay, cool, excellent. So this, what I'll do is I'll actually go into a couple of notes I took of this particular podcast, which I found interesting after the actual post, and also after the publicised articles that I've seen so far. So what it was Hayley, she said she confirmed that she was, out taking pictures with her brother all day with fishing and all that sort of thing, getting ready to leave. Colton was getting his stuff together at the back of the truck, and she said, I took a picture and then I thought it looked really good. Now, I thought that was really interesting, because apparently she had only reviewed it when they actually started to move away from the location. So she's actually already looked at the photo, which is what would happen. I mean, you take a selfie as if you're not going to look at it and say, do I look okay in that? From a chick's point of view, you don't even have to be 13. And that's why I thought was quite strange, is that someone to take a photo, put your phone down, unless someone's calling you and you've got to go out, or you've got to help out with something, but it just seemed a little bit strange. So she said she thought it was okay, and then went to look at her camera roll, and then actually discovered it as the vehicle was moving along and heading back home. So I thought that was a big, interesting, juicy clue right there, because that just didn't make sense to me. Also, she said that when she had looked at it on her camera, she got very, very upset because she zoomed in and she said she found something else. She started crying. She was very scared that was something. She said in the interview that she's somebody who gets more scared than excited about anything. But she seemed very cool and calm. So, maybe it could be nerves as well. You've got to keep that in mind. She's only 13. Also, she said that her mother texted the photo afterwards, so obviously that confirms definitely that it was on a phone camera, unless you took a photo, but she did say camera roll when she was reviewing, so that confirms it was definitely on a smartphone. Again, as we know as investigators, they are more susceptible to those wonderful apps that drive us up the wall. But again, if that was the case in this particular instance, they've advanced in the last sort of couple of months, or this was something that is I reckon was taken offline and I say fiddled with. It sounds really bad, doesn't it? It's, tampered with. Tampered's better. Tampered better. PC tampered with. So there's that as well. So there's also a couple of comments that she made too. So Mother wasn't there. She texted the photo, and Mother's reactions, this is really interesting. The mother's first reaction was, "You messing with me, girl? How did you learn to do that?" Now, that was her mum. Now, that's interesting, because later on she then explains that at school, nobody, none of the teachers, none of the coaches, none of her friends, nobody thinks that she's photoshopped it, because they know the kind of person she is, and she's not that kind of kid. But yet the first thing her mum says is like, oh, come on, you messing with me? This is a joke, right? Come on. While her daughter was crying on the phone. So I thought that was interesting. Again, you know, kids can be kids, but I just thought that was a very interesting point to make as well. Oh, yes, show the pic. Very good. My bad. Sorry about that, Kerry. Here we go. So there we go. So that's the pic in question there, guys. Yeah, so they do doubt had many shots of the day. So why choose this one for the spooky edition? That's a good point, Debbie. I think there's a big reason for that. Firstly, one thing I have found with certain ghost photos is they pick the perfect one. This to me is a perfect one because it's got room to draw attention to a certain part. Now, if this ghost was here or up there or here or just behind here, or some of them actually can be, but this just seems too perfect. That just seems way too perfect to position a figure there, if, you know, in that particular regard. So that's why I think that particular shot is, dare I say, the money shot in this particular sense. Now, also, I'll just double check to make sure that I've let you know all the little tidbits out of this great interview. It was still a good interview. The guy was really great with them. He was obviously very encouraging and believing of their story and their footage, and said, you know, you're going to get haters and you just got to ignore them and stuff. It was very good. Again, keeping in mind she's only 13. As I said, the mother was glad that the actual spirit looks happy and not angry in the photo. I thought that was okay. That's a bit interesting. And none of Hayley's friends actually thought that she had actually photoshopped it, which now I don't know if America's any different to Australia, but for me, I would very rarely find that everybody would be in agreement with something like this, because in Australia the paranormals looked still, definitely not always, but sometimes looked a bit like, oh, ghost story, oh, you're an idiot. I thought, yeah, I think it's very interesting that every kid in her school agrees and believes with this particular photo, and not one of them thinks that it has been photoshopped. So, watching too much Walking Dead. No, there's no such thing. So yeah, it's she said that she's not the kind of person that would do this. We are taking her on her word in that regard. So to look at this particular photo, my initial analysis, as I said, I could talk about this for hours and bore everybody to buggery, is the fact that I think it has been photoshopped, but I'm really perplexed as to when the timing of it happened. If this photo, because I want to know if this was a photo that was taken on that day. It could have been taken another day. We're going on someone's word. And also the red flags with the post here, like, FB friends, check this out. Now, apparently she had written that only for a couple of people. So the mother had posted this just for family and friends. Just as, you know, hey, look, this is something really cool. Have a share. And then one of her friends had said, I can't share it. Can you change it to public status so I can share it? And she did. She said, you know, I thought I was only going to get about 100 shares. And now look at it. It's gone viral. So, well, you've got please share on it. What do you expect? So I just think there are a couple of glaringly interesting sides to this, particularly with the backstory, particularly the way in which it's been put together. But for me, I think this is definitely not a ghost. It's definitely not a ghost. But then again, as I said, I'd like to know more of the timing of when this particular photo, from the time in which it was apparently taken to the time in which it was posted. That would be my biggest clues into finding more information about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. As I said, if you're only just joined in, you can watch the replay. That's what I love about Facebook Live. You can hear me stuff up and talk about all sorts of inappropriate things like buggery. But by all means, hi to everybody in the States as well that have also been interested in this particular story. And I do hope that you do watch this. And as I said, post your thoughts, your comments. If you've, there was obviously Blair that said that he's very familiar with this particular image. If you can, mate, again, that'd be brilliant. But by all means, thanks again for watching. Until next week.